Hi, welcome to the Small Shed. This week I'm looking at how to repair reclaimed timber so you can reuse it again. See you in a minute. Now this is a bit of a random sort of mishmash of bits and pieces. Sometimes I get a bit of video that's too short to make a full video with. Sometimes I get bits that I've chopped out that are still worth looking at but are making a video too long, and so I've gathered some of these together which are all on pretty much the same theme, and that is reclaiming timber and making sure that you can get it into a state where it can be reused properly again, because generally you get a lot of knot holes or holes where screws have been, holes where nails have been, that sort of thing, and there's a variety of ways of dealing with it. This is just a collection of some of those ways that I've been doing it. I'm going to start with an apology. I haven't looked at any of the comments on videos for 2 weeks. I've been slightly busy. When you're doing video editing and you're getting rid of stuff, when you get a little box coming up saying, are you sure you want to delete this file, it's too big to fit in the recycle bin, don't press yes. Think about it, because the other day by accident this stupid old fool completely deleted a 1 terabyte hard drive on his computer, and that took out everything that is currently in process. All the other stuff I've got is backed up and has been backed up that I've ever done, and I was attempting to tidy things up a bit and get some backing up done, but it means all of the half-finished projects, from the guitar, the sander, the community bookcase, the benches, all sorts of things, best part of 1 terabyte of information has gone. Now it's not quite as serious as it may seem, because I know that these things aren't gone, it just loses the directory where it's placed, and I thought for 100 quid or so I could get my local computer man to restore all those files for me. And to be fair, I emailed him at 10 o'clock one night and he came back to me about 1:15, said here's some free software on the internet, download it. You've done the right thing, you haven't touched your computer, you haven't overwritten anything or done anything with it, it should be able to pull it all back. Do a deep scan and it'll pull all your files back. And I loaded the software up, and sure enough, getting on for 2 days later, it had pulled back all of the files. So for the last fortnight, the problem with all of this is it doesn't put it back into the directories where it was originally. And all of the software I've got that's doing the videos, that makes the finished videos, is looking around going, well, where's that bit then? Because it was in that file and that file's not there anymore. So I started off a fortnight ago with 9,500 files that I had to go through, and I've cleared out all the ones that were corrupted. It's pulled up a huge amount of duplicates, because it's also pulled back all of the stuff I've deleted and didn't want. So I'm having to go through all that. I think I'm down to about 2,500 files at the moment. Anyway, enough of excuses. Suffice it to say, it might be a bumpy ride for a week or two, because I've got a lot on my plate at the moment, and hopefully this isn't the first time I've done it, and that's the really sad thing about it. However, on with this one. This isn't just cobbled together because it's all I've got. Actually, this one was nearly finished and just needed a bit of intro and that, so this one is safe. 40 videos I think it is of the cycle cart are all finished and they're okay. I was getting ahead of the game. I'd actually got 3 or 4 Saturday videos done. It was the normal weekly content I was running a little bit tight on, and this hasn't helped matters, but we'll see how we go over the next week or two anyway. But let's start off with the repairs to the timber and see what we're doing with it. Starting off with the work I did on the community bookcase, where this had been a shelf unit that had been dismantled and left outside someone's home, and it had got a large number of big holes in it where there had been screws, and some of them had already been repaired but not very well, and this is how I do it. Now the next job is to deal with some of the holes in the timber. There's some imperfections in there where there have been fixings. What I'm going to do, I've got a plug cutter bit that I bought a set of from Aldi some years ago. It's nothing special, and in fact it'll probably burn its way through rather than do anything useful, but we'll have a go anyway and see how we get on with it, just to cut some timber plugs that we can then use to disguise the holes like that we've got. I did say we'd have some burning, but it doesn't affect the plug itself. That's come out quite nicely. Just get a screwdriver or something now just to snap those off in the hole, and then all I need to do is to drill a suitably sized, which I think is 12mm hole in the wood, and we can glue that into that hole. Just drill this piece here. A bit of white wood glue in the hole, get the grain to match the run of the timber, and then we just gently tap that in. Slightly protruding. Just wait for the glue to dry off. By the time that's sanded smooth or trimmed smooth first with a plane, we won't be able to see that at all, I'm sure. And that's it, finished. Time we get a coat of finish on that, I don't think you'll be able to see it, and it's certainly a lot better than the original holes that we were getting in the timber, and indeed some of the repairs that had been done before, which had got a few big holes in them. So I've got to go around and do all of these like that now, and that will at least give us some stock that's as good as we can get it. So that's dealt with large holes in big hardwood lumps of timber. Next one I came across was when I was doing the templates for the routing out of the caddy trays and that, and I nicked the edge of one of the masters that I was using with the edge of the router, and it left a little nick in it, so that was a quick and easy enough repair to do. Of it. I could cut a new one, but it just seems a bit pointless if I can fix it, so I'm just going to put a bit of the thick super glue into the depression in it, build it up slightly higher, and then once it's dried I can just grind it back with a file or sandpaper or something and just keep it in use for a bit longer. high spot off it now. Put that back into use. We're away. And then what about holes in timber that are nail holes? Well, that sort of depends entirely on, again, on the timber that you've got. If it's softwood, as I was using on a planter the other day, it's going to be finished with something anyway, a stain or a paint. So it's probably easier to deal with. But in this case, let's have a look at the planter I was building and see how I dealt with that one. There are a couple of old holes on this timber that have been where things have been attached in the past. Just going to put a bit of glue in and fill it with sawdust. Then when we come to the sanding stage before painting, should give us a nice continuous line of timber. I've got some sawdust somewhere that's of about the right colour, some maple dust here somewhere. Probably a bit extravagant for this, but needs must. And all that. Just stick a load of that on there. Punch it into the hole. Say once that's dry, we can just sand it smooth, and it will give us a decent finish. These, the ones with the holes in, I've deliberately left as the back of this. I've put all of the poor ones together in one place. I really must stop using chisels as spatulas, although I suppose it's a step up from opening tins with them. And then finally there's the one which is not so much dealing with flaws in the timber as flaws in the workmanship perhaps. Certainly I've had one or two areas when I have to use a little bit of filling here and there, and in this instance I'm looking at one of the videos that are coming up in the future on the cycle cart where I've been making a steering wheel, and again it was reusing recycled timber, but this was purely bad workmanship. I think I'd got a joint that was a little bit open, and I thought I'd see how I could get about repairing that. Now for cracks in timber, or in this case it's a join that's not very well made, there's quite a big gap in there between two pieces of wood. I've got some sawdust as a side product of sanding the thing down anyway. I'm just going to put a bit of that and mix it with some super glue and fill it up, and it should pretty much sort that out in a matter of seconds. Let's get the accelerator. It's got a couple of empty tins, I think. We'll see. And all I do with that, just get some of the sawdust up, fill it in the gap, and drop some super glue on it and let it wick in. I prefer the runny stuff to this, on this, to the like the Mitre Bond. Just keep feeding it with that. Bit of accelerator to harden it. And then that's pretty much ready to sand. You can use wood glue as well, but this is much quicker. And by the time we get a bit of stain on it, I mean you can barely see it now anyway, but I think with a bit of teak oil or stain on, we should lose it pretty much all together. I'm happy with that. So there we are, that's dealing with both softwood and hardwood. Really depends very much on the finish you're going to use at the end of the day as to what you end up using as your glue more than anything. With the oiled finishes and that, it doesn't matter if you're using super glue and sawdust, whereas in many cases it's probably better to use white glue, a whitewood glue, and mix it into a paste because it dries lighter. But hopefully it was of interest to you. It just shows that all is not lost when you've got a nice piece of timber but it's got a flaw in it, or indeed if you make a cock up and you didn't really intend to. So look forward to seeing you next week, I hope, and with any luck we'll see you then. Bye!